All right, Doug Smith with another restaurant mastermind here on LinkedIn. And COVID obviously is changing things in the restaurant space from night to day. And the gentleman who I'm talking to right now, Michael Manion, he's the president and CEO of Kitchen Podular, has a unique perspective on this because of what you do, Michael, with the pods and ghost kitchens and how all of that is the big buzzword and restaurant brick and mortar footprint and how things are changing. My first question to you is, were changes with delivery or pickup and the whole kitchen restaurant space changing, but changing slowly, and COVID kind of kicked it in the butt and put everything into high speed? What are you seeing right now as the restaurant is COVID and hopefully the new normal?
Okay. Wow. Thank you for the kind introduction. Yeah, like I was, we originally started building, ghost kitchens about 3 years ago, and we primarily focus on QSR enterprise brands, and they take a long time to test and develop. And before it was, okay, now I have this many menu items. How do I consolidate this for delivery? Where a traditional old restaurant used to be, and I say this lightly, it used to be like a restaurant that had maybe 30 items. Now you have restaurants like Chick-fil-A that are specialized in one thing. So every item now online happens to be a brand. And, primarily, and that's why you have a lot of ghost kitchens. It might be like one kitchen that might have 5 different items that are 5 different brands. And that's just to help, expand the offerings. So we saw a lot of brands trying to figure this out over the last few years, and pickup and delivery has always been coming. It's always been, growing and fast, but it was ahead of its time until it wasn't. And COVID, all of a sudden, it wasn't. Overnight, everybody got shut down, and it was the strong will survive. And, you saw brands starting to sell salads. Like, here's a grocery list. Here's all this other stuff. You could buy anything from us. We're going to streamline. And so they learned real quick what they could afford in overhead, in delivery fees, in food costs, and how much money they were going to make a day. So our model just happened to come in at the right time because we give you a smaller footprint. It's the kitchen without the glassware, the silverware, the cups, the spoons, the forks, waiters and waitresses walking in and out. And we give you a normal cook line. It's not like a food truck or anything like that. It's, a full walk-in cooler, freezer, all your MEP, a nice hood with all your equipment underneath it. And we can also offer a pickup, like a puck, a pickup cabinet, so everything's totally touchless because it's ordered in advance. So you come over, you scan your phone, and door opens up, you grab your food, and you can leave. We also can put drive-throughs. Also rooftop patios for social distance dining. So we've been set up for COVID from day one, just because, ironically, this is where restaurants came from in the first place. If you look at White Castle, which was like the first chain ever, what was it? A window you walk up to. McDonald's, a window you walk up to. The first restaurants kind of were like drive-in restaurants where you drive in, park your car, and the food gets expedited to you. Those principles were never wrong. They got, not, when we started dining in, they weren't needed as much anymore. So I think now they're prevalent again, and they're needed more to keep you open and keep your overhead costs a lot less.
I'm a big fan of the concept that history always repeats. It may take a little different form, but history repeats, and sometimes you go back to your roots. With what you just said there, I know you had referenced prior, like restaurants like Sonic and A&W Root Beer, things like that. So do you see the restaurant industry essentially going back to the core, how the concept started, but switched to?
And that's a loaded question, and the answer is yes and no. And it's yes. I'm a firm believer that you need to go out and eat, but when safe. And you need to, absolutely no restaurant chains that I know of right now are building brick and mortar sit down locations. It'd be dangerous. But like, so this is more of a hub and spoke model. I think you should have like that icon restaurant and you can go sit down and have a great family meal or whatever. But the fact of the matter is all our lives are getting busier anyway. Things were going more delivery oriented. So it does make sense to have, if you need to expand right now, let's say you don't need a dining room. You don't, if you do a whole bunch of TIs that costs a lot of money and you get shut down, you can just go out of business. We create a pod that you can drop on non-traditional real estate, shrubs, something, like a dead part of a parking lot. You could put in, just drop a pod. You do a ground lease. It's a lot cheaper. You can put a drive-through, a puck, and a rooftop patio. So it's made for social distancing, and it's set up for, I guess it's COVID friendly because there's only a couple employees in there running it. It's not like a commissary kitchen where there's a bunch of people inside. You have your own walk-in cooler freezers, so you're storing your own food. You have your own 3-compartment sink, 2-compartment sink if you're watching a lot of lettuce and such, so you're not cross-contaminating any of your food. It's set up to be efficient, and it's becoming more and more friendly with the cities because you're like, hey, with like Yelp announcing 53% of their restaurants in their platform are gone already, we're opening up kitchens that everything, the food's ordered in advance. It has a pickup cabinet. You scan your phone. Nobody's interacting with the customer to get their food, and they can go off with it. Or you can do a drive-through, or in an area where you can't do a drive-through, you do like the old A&W model where you have parking and you expedite the food to the drivers and they can drive away with it. So yeah, I think it's definitely here. It's here to stay. I don't see it getting any smaller, but I don't discount restaurants when we're able to go back as well.
Gotcha. You had mentioned something prior to us hitting the record button as well, talking about how the old motto for any kind of business, especially restaurants, it was location, location, location. And now with COVID and the supposed new normal and everything else, it's not really location anymore. And what you provide is flexibility for restaurants to be able to do, maybe it's not as all about location, it's more about spacing or whatever. Can you expand on that and how this has changed and what your product provides from the flexibility standpoint?
Absolutely. So traditionally, you have guys go out and people to go out and they scout locations, and we have this spot, but maybe you like this zip code or this geographic area, and you go into a strip mall and it's full. What do? Our model gets away from all that because we can do things like behind Walmart. Depends how known the brand is. We can put you behind Walmart if it's a well-known brand. Everybody searches near me, and the food's delivery and pickup, so it doesn't really matter. It's just getting it close to the customer. It's within a 3-mile radius from your next location is the best way to do it, really. And it's two-phase. Because it's not a restaurant you can sit down in, you need to have businesses in the daytime so you can do catering and deliveries in group and multiples, as well as nighttime. So with houses and schools as well, because parents are busy, you want to do promotions with schools, but our pods are easy to place and it's non-traditional real estate. So if you start looking at different pads and shopping malls everywhere you go, you'll see corners everywhere that are just unused space. That's where we live. So the brand can get that space for a lot cheaper. We're traditionally now trying to do all electric kitchens. Places like Berkeley, California, Boston, and now even New York, all new construction, no natural gas. So we're trying to do all electric kitchens. So you just run the power in the water, drop a pod, connect it to utilities. We get all the sign-offs done at the factory. So when we drop it, you have the site work done, you can be open for business in a couple days, which is unheard of. So you own the pod, you're not doing TIs, you're not dealing with dining rooms, you have less employees, you can afford to do your delivery and to make your money, you have a self-sufficient building, and it's turnkey, and you can scale in multiple cities at once. We can do this deployment in not just one location, it's the same building. Traditionally, if you go to a different city or a different strip mall or different whatever you're doing, you're designing for that location. We can design 1 or 2 models for you and scale them everywhere the same model, which lowers your costs, which speeds up the deployment and lets you get open faster.
Nice, nice. So you've been in this industry for a while, very knowledgeable. Someone's watching this right now who maybe they got into the restaurant game 3-4 years ago. The economy was cranking, everything was good, and this is the first time that they've ever kind of hit the skids, and it's like, oh, what do I do? What piece of advice would you have for someone who's in that spot in the restaurant space right now, for someone who's seeing it from a unique angle? Anything that you would give them as a piece of advice on how to move forward?
Lower your costs. That's what it boils down to. Lower your costs, and where's the biggest bang for your buck, and how can you make money and survive? And the fact of the matter is, until the unseen future, it's delivery, pickup, and catering. And so if you don't need a sit-down restaurant right now, don't pay for that, because you're spending money on insurance for the square footage, your lighting bill, your air conditioning for the whole space that nobody's in. There's just, we actually design our bars for function, our kitchens and bars for that matter, for functionality first, and then aesthetic second. So we set it up the way you would frame a bar, where everybody just takes 1 or 2 steps. And a 330 square foot on average kitchen's pretty decent size. You can get through any shifts, any days you need out of that. Just speaking from us. But in general, the big chains are seeing they can go small to go big now, and you should too. It's the time to scale down to go bigger and open more locations rather than putting all your eggs in one basket.
Excellent. And for anyone who's watching this, I would imagine you're cool with people reaching out on LinkedIn to connect with you. How does someone get a hold of you and learn more about Kitchen Podular?
Michael Manion. I'm on LinkedIn under Kitchen Podular. Just connect with me. We'd love to work with you. And if there's anything we can help with, unconditionally, we're there.
Excellent. Michael, appreciate your time. Appreciate
Thank you very much.